Welcome to the ExecMBA podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. On this episode of the podcast, I'm excited to share my recent conversation with Mike Dorsey. Mike is a first-year student in our Executive MBA class of 2027, and he and I recently connected to talk more about his background, his decision to pursue an MBA, what led him to Darden, why he decided to take on a leadership role in his first year, and so much more. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. And as always, if this conversation is helpful for you, please like this episode and subscribe to the ExecMBA podcast so you never miss an update. And remember, you can always check the episode description for links to Darden blogs, social channels, and more. Now, without further ado, here is my conversation with Mike Dorsey. Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Brett, how you doing today?
It's great to speak with you. How are you doing?
Been good. I didn't get a chance to see you at the last OGR. I saw you, but I didn't attend that Friday night networking event.
Oh, that's all right. People are busy. There's a lot going on during weekend residency. Well, thanks for your time today. It's great to have you on the podcast. Wanted to talk about your recent electoral victory, amongst other things. But before we get into that, let's talk about you and your background. Tell us more about you.
Yeah, I'm from Portland, Oregon. I did my undergrad at Portland State University, where I also played football. So that was a great experience, just playing Division I football and getting to know other teammates and traveling around. I also was involved in student leadership. I was the student ambassador for the school, so I had the opportunity to represent students with faculty at different, donation and donor events, as well as give campus tours. I also was a double major, so my undergrad was in supply and logistics management and general management. And getting done with undergrad, I thought about going to business school, but things really weren't aligning how I wanted them to. And I was interviewing in corporate America. I got offered a few positions, few roles in Portland, and I was really excited for that. But I come from a family of military service, and it just seemed that it was the right thing to do back in those days to serve. So I put my package in for the Marine Corps, joined the Marine Corps, and I did full career in the Marines. I served as an infantry officer, a couple deployments along the way, as well as I was an instructor at some of our leadership and tactics schools. I led a recruiting battalion and helped, find the next greatest generation to serve in our beloved Marine Corps. And then I recently retired a couple months ago, and that's where I am now.
That's a big transition, retiring from the Marine Corps, moving from such a structured environment to a very unstructured, ambiguous time. How did that feel?
Yeah, I think I'm very thankful for my service and the things I learned along the way and the people I worked with and worked for. I think since I was a business undergrad, I always view a lot of the situations and challenges we faced administratively or with a budget through a business lens. And I always had that burning desire for the business context of how all these things kind of played forth in the military context. And so, I knew that my time in the Marine Corps was going to come to an end, whether it was, 3 years of service, 10 years, 20 years, or a full 40-year career. So I always wanted to be a small business owner. And so in my transition plan, my wife and I started a gym a couple years ago here in Stafford. And so I think that's been great to have that aspect, learning all the leadership things I learned from the Marine Corps and just talking with people and helping people develop a plan and coaching them through to achieve their goals, and really applying that with our gym of what we do. So I think the sequencing of, it's a lot to retire from the military, to have a small business going, and to start an MBA program. But I think all those things kind of all align, and they're all pointed towards the same direction of helping people out. And I think that's what I did in the Marines. That's what I do with my business. And that's what I hope to continue to do post MBA.
How did you decide you wanted to open a gym?
Yeah. So my wife and I met back in college. She was a track athlete and I was a football player. And so I think that framework had always been there. We've always been involved in athletics our entire lives. Both of us played a bunch of sports in high school, and that continued in college. And then time in service in the military, both were very active. She's worked at various different gyms across the countries as we moved around places. And so we've both been highly involved in fitness. We have 3 kids. a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, and 9-year-old, and they're all involved in sports. So it was a natural thing to progress to if we can not only help out our local community and make a positive impact, but also, potentially have the opportunity to train our own kids. That'd be great. And so I think that with most things in life, you just kind of have to jump into the deep end and figure things out. I think that we were in a time and space knowing I was going to retire from here in Virginia, and we wanted to, sequence everything with the kids all kind of going through the same high school, that it was time to kind of plant some roots or plant our feet down and see if we could tap into the market and grow a little bit. And I think it's been a phenomenal journey the past 3 years on the business side.
Yeah, just as someone who doesn't work out that often, to decide to open a gym and say, "Yes, we can help you train, we can help you." I mean, you really have to know what you're doing to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I think it's scary. I think any business venture, if it's a bakery, if you're into ETA, entrepreneurship through acquisitions, or a mom and pop shop, whatever it is, it's a lot to actually take the plunge and to do it. But I think from when we looked at it, we had looked previously into opening up a franchise with, you can name your gym franchise, but it didn't seem right for us. Right? It seems like that we wanted to be able to bring the best of everything we've learned along the way, and why people go to the gym and why people stay in the gym communities that they are in, coupled with the actual type of training that we like to do, but do it in a way that nobody feels intimidated. People feel welcomed, whether you're a high school athlete, if you're somebody who used to run, but now you're looking for something different, whether you're, postpartum and working through, the initial challenges and phases of life of having a child, if you're a working professional, all the way up to our oldest client, she's 75. So I think that we're really trying to get the full gamut of fitness is for everybody, but teach it in a way that it's approachable and not intimidating for anybody.
It's a very crowded market for gyms and workout support and all these kinds of things. How do you figure out what your particular approach is or what makes you different in the market and then communicate that out to customers?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that the thing that makes us different and unique is that we don't feel like we have any competitors. And because we're just happy if people are moving their bodies and able to be healthier and able to move around in all their chapters of life, whether that's running around with your kids, being able to make it up a flight of stairs, if you're a grandparent and be able to run around with your grandkids, and just being able to move your body and feel comfortable in the body that you're in. And so we don't view it as any gym around us, as any of our competitors. There's in our local area down here, there's hundreds of thousands of people, and not everybody is active. So there's more than enough room at the table for everybody to be successful in the fitness industry. It's just a matter of trying to get people out there and moving their bodies. And then kind of specific to us, just kind of how we train. We teach you how to work out and why to work out, and then we couple it with the nutrition plan and macronutrient plan, and what does all that stuff mean. So I think that kind of the approach we take is we're coaching you and teaching you how to do it, and we're doing it with you. And then in 6 months to a year, if you have the baseline down and you're good and you're able to move out on your own and do your own programming and do your own workouts, that's great. That's a win for us. We don't view that as a loss for us. So I think when they talk about, you hear about if you do what you truly love, you don't work a day in your life. I think that we're able to crack that nut. And I think another thing that enabled us to do that is that we started small. And so, opening a business and actually having a brick and mortar location, there's a lot of challenges with that, a lot of expenses up front, uh, and then all the things that go along with marketing and in driving client referrals. Uh, it's a lot, but I think that we were able to do it because we started small with the intent of helping as many people as we could, and then we just have grown from there.
I love that. The idea of like competition in the fitness industry. I mean, you just want people to get healthier. You want them
Hmm.
to be in better shape. I mean, everybody wins.
Yeah, and I think another thing with our model as well is that we're community based. So where our gym is, this is where we live, and we're official partners with our local school district. And that's also the school district that our children go to. And so when we're involved in the different PTO meetings and different volunteer events, we are helping our own community. We also go to church here, down here in Stafford, Virginia. And so I think it's really the entire network is built upon making a positive impact on our own community. And we also partner with a lot of other small businesses. And so while there may be some advantages to having partnerships or some of the support needed from running a business, we really try to focus in on those that are in our local community and help bring them up together. And I think we've seen a lot of success from that, from just partnering with other local businesses here and really trying to help them, help ourselves, and really just build our community up more in a positive way.
Well, Mike, how did you decide you wanted to pursue an MBA?
I think the getting an MBA was always in the back of my mind. When I got done with my undergrad, I had applied to a few schools, um, but again, it just wasn't the right timing for me. And then so I joined the Marines, and then from there, knowing that my time in the Marine Corps at some point in time was going to come to an end, I always wanted to get a advanced degree. I had the opportunity to do that while I was in the Marine Corps. I got my master's in military studies. And in that program, I wrote my thesis on talent management and really just how organizations recruit their people, how they retain their people, and why people decide to leave any organization they're a part of. And so when I was in that program, it just reinforced that I really am into the business side of things and the people aspect. And that would be my next step post Marine Corps, was to go to school. So I think I have a decent foundation of leadership experience. I'm getting the business experience of leading my small company that I own now, but there's the other aspect of how to scale it bigger. I needed these additional skills through an MBA program. And so I think that in my transition plan, I kind of always knew that when I got out of the Marines, I was going to go to school, and that the sequencing and timing just aligned. And I'm fortunate enough to have that opportunity to be doing that now.
What was appealing to you about Dart?
Yeah. So the first thing that popped out about Darden is that they're the best business school around. So in my thought process of I'm going to get an MBA, it was, well, let me apply to the number one school. And if I don't get into there, then less until I get into somewhere. So for me, it was a no-brainer to go to Darden. And then as I read more and talked to students and attended different networking events about what Darden offered, I learned that they did the case method. And for me, that really resonated with me as a case method, because in the Marines, I taught at a few schools as well as received instruction via the case method. And I think that just makes all the difference in how people learn and how they retain information, and how these concepts aren't just through memorization, but you actually understand the fundamentals behind them and the why, and why these theories apply to different things, and not just a copy and paste of this equation equals this without having the context of it.
So you mentioned being attracted to the case method and the learning experience and having some background with that. But sometimes graduate business school is a little different. What was the adjustment to being a Darden student like for you?
Yeah, I think it was an adjustment because everything's new. So as people go through different chapters of life, there's always a new thing that's going to happen. So although I've been involved in education for a while, both personally and professionally, it was a big adjustment. And I think the adjustment wasn't so much in the amount of workload, because I think a lot of people, they're reading books anyways. They're reading articles in different news media outlets. They're reading articles in their professional associations they're a part of. So they're already doing the work in terms of reading and understanding material and coming up with their own thoughts on what they read. I think the adjustment for Darden was the material had to be more focused in. So I think there's some classes, some topics that just kind of resonate with me a little bit more easier, so I'm able to comprehend them a little bit better. And there's other topics that I actually have to have focused study time in. So I think that kind of was the adjustment of the understanding the material, I have to like be in the mind frame to, okay, it's time to study, and then study in these 30-minute to hour-long blocks, and then go on to the next thing. So I think that kind of was the biggest adjustment for me, was not so much blocking my time, because I was a reader before, and I think most working professionals are readers. So it's not the volume of work, but it's just the volume of reading that we're doing. But when I'm doing it, when it's not, the kids aren't running around and screaming their heads off, or doing whatever they're doing that day.
How'd you figure out a schedule that worked well for you and your family?
Yeah, I think the scheduling's every chapter of life. It's hard. We have 3 kids. They're all involved in after school activities. Uh, and I don't want to say I'm not a morning person, but I would prefer to sleep in. But I think that's really kind of the best window for me, is to, as soon as I wake up, I do a little bit of homework, help get the kids ready for school. And then that's kind of the best window. I think that in the evenings, right after the kids get home from school or getting home from work, it's too much going on, or it's one thing after the other. So I think it's really the early mornings and the later evenings, once the kids are kind of settling down for the day. I also think there's an element of there of, I'll take advantage of weekend opportunity times. A lot of times on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday mornings, the kids are sleeping in. We don't have, sports till later on in the day, or we don't go to church until later on in the morning. And so that's kind of my catch up time to read school material and school coursework, to kind of get caught back up for the week.
Do you do a little bit every day?
I try to do a little bit every day. It doesn't happen that way. I think that I'm able to balance it out with when I have to grind and there's no time left and I actually have to get all this stuff done. I think just the way I was raised, both, personally, and then raised professionally in the Marine Corps, when there's a deadline and this has to get done, you just kind of work as long as you need to get it across the line. I would say what has been extremely helpful, um, is the use of our learning team. So for everybody listening, at Darden, they put us in learning teams, so group of anywhere from 5 to 6 students, and we're in the same learning team throughout the coursework. So that provides us the opportunity to, if we're stuck on something or some concepts aren't really making sense to us, we have the opportunity to have those discussions with our learning team, prior to actually going to class. And I think that has enabled tremendous things for our learning team. Trifecta Learning Team 3 is our group. So I think that from that side of the house of professionally getting to work with my 5 colleagues, there may be a topic somebody doesn't understand, but somebody is super comfortable with it, so they can explain it and walk through the concepts that are being presented. I think then that also then further reinforces for each one of us that if we're able to teach it to our colleagues, then we're more than well prepared. And it's been interesting and fun to see, as we close out here, quarter 3, that everybody has had things that they're super strong with and super comfortable with, and then there's been some things that everybody has needed assistance or help on. So I think that uh, it's great, and I don't know if I would have had the success I've had this first year without the help of my learning team. I don't think there's no way I could have, because there's just so many questions and so many concepts and ideas that are new, and the way that my colleagues are able to explain it in their terms, it just makes all the difference.
You talked about your own personal schedule. I'm curious about the schedule that your learning team follows. How do y'all work together? You mentioned everybody's bringing something and adding to that conversation. Y'all meet in the evenings, you meet on the weekends. How does it work?
Yeah, so with the executive format, we have classes online 3 weeks of the month, and then we meet in person for on-ground residencies, 1 week in a month. Well, on the weeks that we have online class on Tuesday and Thursday nights, we meet Monday night. So we'll meet Monday night for about an hour. Typically, it's 7:30 to 8:30 on Zoom, and really we'll just prioritize the workload. So we have a little share drive that we'll drop our notes in, and kind of the templates or Excel documents that we work through are kind of our answers to the case that was presented. And then we'll use our study session time on Monday nights to really go through the top priorities, or really just answer any questions that anybody has outstanding. So we do that during the weeks that we have online class. And then for the weeks that we have on-ground residencies, we meet Tuesday nights because that's still everybody's kind of rhythm right now of having class Tuesday and Thursday evenings. And so we'll meet Tuesday night again for about an hour. Granted that going into the on-ground residencies, the coursework's a little bit heftier just due to the amount of lessons we cover in one OGR weekend. So then we really have to focus in and prioritize what kind of the top classes are, the top cases are we need to review together as a team. And then we kind of have onesies and twosies, follow-up sessions the subsequent nights if somebody needs something with just one or two of the other learning team members.
And it's worth noting those weeks leading up to an on-grounds residency, you're not going to have distance class. So that's how Mike and his team are able to meet on that Tuesday or Thursday evening to connect. Faculty want you to have sort of full focus on preparing for that weekend residency. You'll typically have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 12 to 13 class sessions in a weekend. Friday around noon is when class kicks off, although there's a lunch period from 11 to noon, time for announcements as well, what we call homeroom. You go Friday to about 6 o'clock, Saturdays around 8 a.m. to about 5:30, and then Sundays 8 a.m. or so to about 3 p.m. So 12, 13 class sessions across 3 courses during a weekend, typically about 1 case per class session. Quite a bit to prepare.
Yeah. It seems like hearing about it and just right now, Brett articulating it like that seems like it's so massive and such a big mountain to overcome. And I think adjusting to school and what information to pull from the case, I think that as the first semester or the first quarter was a lot, but I think that through the learning team and through how the professors kind of recommended we prepare for cases, as well as we go to LR1, so week-long residencies out there on grounds in Charlottesville, about August timeframe. And I think some of those classes really how to prepare cases as a graduate student helped a lot. And so some of those frameworks we learned during LR1, we were able to apply those during quarter one. And that then kind of set the foundation of how we should be reading the cases, how we should be looking at the exhibits, how we should be reading the technical notes that are provided by the professors. And I think that then makes it all achievable. So I think with some of it sounds like a lot, but I think that the tools that Darden has provided makes it, you just got to use tools that are in place that are provided. And I think that has enabled it to be successful for the entire cohort.
I'm struck about the comment around frameworks for reading the case. The faculty had shared with you. We probably have some incoming students listening to this conversation. Is there maybe one tip you would offer based upon what you've heard from faculty in terms of how to prepare a case that you would recommend?
Yeah, great question. I think that the kind of the best tip is to look at the exhibits, right? And I think that, you look at the tables in the back of each case, and I think every student, even if you think you have no idea what's going on, you can look at the exhibits and you can tell what each chart or each set of data that's presented in the table is trying to present. And we may not know why that number is there or what it means, but you can make the executive summary in your head of what's going on just by looking at the different graphs that are presented. And so I think that's kind of was the best tip given, was to look at the exhibits in each case and really to explain what a case was, because I didn't have a full understanding of what a case meant for business school. It's really just a scenario that is being presented to present a problem or to provide context of a situation that's going on in the business world or for a specific company, to then draw out the learning objectives of whatever that class is. So if you take for example, we're in accounting, I'm in accounting 2 right now. And so we just use a toy manufacturing company to explain the production process for a manufacturing plant. And so all these are new ideas to all of us as students, but we can look at the tables and the graphs in the back of the case study, have a basic understanding of what's going on. Then we read the case, and the case is just a story, a 2 to 5 page story of explaining what's going on with the business. Like here's the manager, here's the plant manager, here's the operations officer, here's the chief financial officer, here's what they're looking at, here's some of the problems that they're struggling with, and what do they do? And I think that just using the frameworks provided of how to work through cases enables that to not be as challenging or so unsurmountable as it kind of initially seems.
Yeah, that advice resonates. Used to work with law students on how to read a law case, which the worst way to approach reading a legal case is just to start from the beginning and start reading, because you have no idea what's important. You have no context for it. Maybe you know that you've been assigned to read it, you know the general class, but that's about it. We always told students to read the last page first if there's any questions that the faculty member has assigned to you, to kind of get oriented towards it, like what might be on their mind, what might you need to be thinking about as you're reading through this case. Another strategy was to read the first sentence of every paragraph to kind of start to get a sense of the structure.
Mhm.
Anything you can do to create context so that you know what to pay attention to and what facts are important, what pieces of information are important, because otherwise you're just reading and you think everything's important. So I think you get a lot of opportunity to practice those skills, but I appreciate that advice, Mike. So here you are, first year student at Darden, and one of the things that sometimes comes up is the opportunity to be a leader in your class. So you and one of your classmates decided to run for Executive MBA Student Association. How did you decide to do that? You got a lot on your plate already.
Yeah. So I think that there's always opportunities to lead in any organization that we're in. And I think it's somewhat funny, or maybe just a sign, and just kind of the path I've been on already, is that even going all the way back to elementary school, I've been involved in student leadership. So elementary school, middle school, high school, undergraduate, my first master's degree, and then now. And I think that what makes all those things so funny is that I've always been asked by a peer or recommended by a peer that I should run for one of the student positions. And I think that I would have not done it at each step of the way if a peer didn't ask me to, or at least, recommend that I consider it. And so here at Darden, big workload. We're just getting through the curriculum itself, and then what's going on, personally, and just running the business. It's a lot on the plate, but I think that that's why I came to school. I came to school to challenge myself and to see what my full capability is. And I think that oftentimes we don't reach our full capability. Nobody's pushed us to, or we think we're not capable of. And I think that it was an opportunity for myself to see if I'm capable of doing it. And I think that Jesse and I, were able to craft a message that resonated with our cohort. I did not expect that we were going to win at all, especially against the candidates we're going up against. But we were able to, resonate with our demographic, with our cohort. And I think it's just another opportunity to really just speak on behalf of students, to Darden faculty, Darden staff, Darden professors, and really just another opportunity to help people out. And I think that that's also how I viewed my time in the Marine Corps, and my time, running the gym, is I'm just trying to help people out. And I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. And Darden has provided some networking opportunities and some alumni panels to kind of work through and shift through some of those things. But I view the student leadership position as a continuation of what I've done in the past, of just trying to help people out and get people the resources and things that they need, and really just set the individual student up, as well as all of the vice presidents for the different departments up for success.
I got to give you and your classmate Jesse credit. Y'all had a high production video, campaign video shot at the Jefferson Memorial here in Washington, D.C. Big year for the University, Jefferson, et cetera. 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence is upon us. So yeah, it hits on a lot of notes. You mentioned
that's all.
your yeah.
That's all courtesy of Jesse. He was the campaign manager, and he's a journalist, so he's in the media profession. So I have to give a shout out and kudos to him for the hard work of how we should do it, what our message should be, and then the actual he made the video, he made the movie. So some good days, a long day filming, but it's a great opportunity to get to know Jesse more. And really just trying to share our story.
Yeah, I'm curious. You mentioned your platform, what you were hoping to accomplish for your classmates. Like, what are some of the things on your agenda that you're thinking about?
Yeah, I think that the main thing is I don't all the opportunities I've had to talk with our cohort about kind of what's going on in their professional lives and why they came to Darden and kind of doing, little the different networking sessions that we do. I think that not all students are aware of all the resources that are available, either from they just haven't had the time to look into them, or they don't know that they exist, or there may be a resource out there that may not be in place yet. And so I think that really the main thing we are trying to accomplish in our time in the seat is really getting as many people involved as possible. And I think a lot of that has to do with exposure, because you may not know you're interested in something unless you're exposed to it. And I think that's a lot of students come to Darden with this idea of, this is what I want to do, and this is I'm going to pivot, and I want to go into this industry, and I want to do this function, and then they don't know what other options are out there or available for them. And so I think that the more we can get more of our student body involved across all the different associations, across all the different networking opportunities, then that will make everybody's time more enjoyable. We'll get to learn more about each other, but as well as really get the maximum use of the limited time that we have here during school to really figure out what you want to do post MBA.
I'm curious, Mike. Obviously, you're about to clear quarter three. You're in your spring semester of your first year. Core is just a few more quarters long, then you'll be into electives. I know it may not feel that close to you, but I promise you, by the time you get to the summer, you'll really feel like you're starting to edge towards the downhill side of the program. What are you looking forward to in the months ahead?
I think the thing I'm most excited for upcoming is our global residency. So I'm doing the EMBA program, and I'm doing just one global residency. There are some of my colleagues that are doing their GEMBAs, their global MBA, so they'll have the chance to go on 4 global residencies. Actually, I think next week the first group is going out to a group's going to Ireland, and I think another group's going to Estonia, and I think Finland. Um, but my trip is in June to Brazil, and so I'm like super excited about that. Just the opportunity to one, visit a country I've always wanted to go to. It's funny. I did my elementary school project in third or fourth grade on Brazil, and then graduating undergrad, I wanted to. I was played football, so the fall of my senior year, so I ended up graduating in December of the year after football was over. I mean, a teammate and roommate, we wanted to go to Rio de Janeiro for New Year's Eve, but we didn't quite have the funds back then to make it happen. So we didn't go. So I think it's kind of funny that in elementary school, undergrad, I wanted to go, didn't have the chance. And now I'm in graduate school. I get the chance to go. Also funny that in my time in the military, I didn't go to South America at all. I've been to, I think 13 countries total, but none to South America. So it's just I think it's a great capstone on like my kind of professional journey from elementary school to now, that I get to go to a country that I've always wanted to go to. So I'm super excited about that, to go in June for a week and explore not culture, but really the business partnerships that the Center for Global Initiatives has established, and really just see how they do business down there, and what skills and tools I can bring back to make a positive impact on any organization that I'm part of.
Appreciate that. The global residency for most executive MBA students is probably one of the highlights of the program. I think it's fair to say. I'm excited. I'm getting to go with a group of your classmates to Ireland, just about 30 people on this course. I'm the logistics lead. I kind of wrangle this crowd through Dublin and Cork and Galway, and it's great. I've been sitting in on all the sessions. We've had a couple of class meetings. One was sort of a general intro and sort of learning about why people wanted to go on this particular global residency. You get a wide variety of answers. Some people, this is really what worked with my schedule, to, this wasn't too far of a plane flight, to I've always wanted to go to Ireland, or I've been to Ireland many times. I'm really excited to go back, this time with a business lens, not as a tourist. And the second session was really cool because the students did student projects on different aspects of Irish culture. and the business environment. We learned about all kinds of things, history, music, art, housing shortages, foreign investment in Ireland. Of course, there's a lot around tech in Ireland in particular. It kind of decided not to develop their own industry, but rather seek out investment from these large global tech companies into the country. So it's been interesting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Actually, two in my learning team are going to Ireland as well. So they've been sharing what the their coursework for that and what they're excited for.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Mike, I'm curious, obviously it sounds like you're exploring career paths. You had the professional advancement course just in J term between the fall and spring semester, short 10-day term. Talked with some of your classmates about this course, but I'm curious, was that course helpful to you? Did you enjoy it as somebody who's kind of in exploratory mode?
I think it was a phenomenal course. I think it provided the opportunity to really just focus on yourself. And I think that any working professional, we have so much going on. We're focused on our company and doing well for our business. We have the requirements at home with your partner and kids and all that, and still trying to find time for you to exercise or watch Netflix or whatever your kind of breakaway is. And there's not a lot of time to actually think about what your next step is in your professional journey. And I think that pack was absolutely phenomenal. I've worked with Jennifer a few times. She's my career coach as part of the Darden Career Center. First, I met with her and we kind of talked about what would be my best transition plan or kind of industries or functions I should look into as a person transitioning from the military. Then I met with her again last summer when I had a final retirement date. And then I met with her again this past January as part of the PAC professional advancement course, part of that curriculum follow up. And so I think that has helped me a lot is this further refinement of what I want to do and what I would be successful at and like what skills I need to then be able to fulfill those roles. I think that there's just so many different avenues and there's so many things and so many networking opportunities that it's hard at times to know like, what do you want to do next? I think it's great that the school breaks us down into, if we're somebody that's going to make a pivot, somebody that's going to make a climber, if we're a switcher and we're pivoting industries or functions, if we're climbing our current organization that we're in, or if we're looking at the entrepreneurship venue. So I've been able to, work with both groups on the entrepreneur side and continue to grow and develop my business, as well as have a foot in the door with the switcher side. And then speaking just to the switcher side, prior to coming to Darden, I thought I wanted to be a consultant and work for one of the big agencies. I think that's what a lot of people with my background do when they get out of the military and post, and the ones that get an MBA, they go that route. And I think that I was able to, through networking events and through further refinement of what I wanted to do with my professional career, that one doesn't really align with what I want to do anymore. And so I think had it not been for those conversations with, my coach, Jennifer Windis, along the way and with PAC, I wouldn't have gotten to that point. And I think that one of the great things about PAC, and I think everybody, all my classmates would say the same thing, was Alumni Day. And so Darden brought in, must have been like 75 alumni from across different generations in different industries, different functions. And they put them in different panel groups, different groupings, kind of by function and by industry. So it was about an 8-hour long event. Then you went to a different panel kind of each hour and had an opportunity to hear from Darden alumni in the fields that they were working in the companies they were working for, and some of the things they thought when they were a student, things that they faced in their career along the way. And I thought it was awesome that there was they had different generations, meaning, people from the class of 2025, people from the class of 2022, people from the class of, in the teens, people in the 2000s, and then even a couple from the classes of the early 90s. And so I think that overall framework and the way that it was designed provided the opportunity to not just see yourself in that next role, but what that looks like 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, and 15 years down the road. And so all that to say, kind of the executive summary here is I think I'm I've realized I'm a people person, and I enjoy people, and I don't enjoy looking at Excel spreadsheets and doing all this data analysis. So I think that just further refinement of I think I'm leaning towards the HR realm, specifically into talent in like recruiting management. And I think that aligns with what I've done in the military, uh, and I think it's kind of like the sweet spot. Now, in terms of actual like industry, it's I didn't know that the industries make such a difference in kind of how things are done, even if it's the same function. But in terms of industry, I'm interested in defense industry just because that's a natural place where I could fall out. Interested in hospitality. I just think that what tourism and the hospitality industry do, what it does for people, it's just a happy place to be, and people generally, for the most part, are always happy when they're traveling. And I think that's just somewhere where I see myself. So I think had it not been for the my meetings with my coach and the PAC course, I wouldn't have came to this conclusion where I'm at now. It still would have been, I don't know what I want to do, which then makes it hard during networking events, or even if you're trying to have a colleague introduce you to somebody who could help you. If you don't know what you want to do, you can't really articulate the help that you need or who you need to be in contact with.
Well, Mike, thank you for sharing all that with us. One more question for you. What's a piece of advice you would share with our listeners as they think about their own MBA journeys?
I think the piece of advice I would share would be just do it. There's not a not to. I think there's never a right time to do anything, right? There always could be a better time to start an MBA program, to get married, to have kids, to do your career pivot and switch, and whatever it is. And I think that the best advice I can give would be just do it, right? You're going to be successful, right? If just the fact that you're considering pursuing an MBA, you fit right in with our cohort, right? I think it's scary and intimidating thinking, can I get into the number one business school in the nation? And then you get in, and then it's like, oh, I'm in. That's great, but am I good enough? And I think that the way that the curriculum is developed here at Darden, the way that the case method is, the professionalism and just the overall mastery of all the material that all the professors have, how they're able to coach you the process, even if you don't know what question you're trying to ask, they can coach you on to the question you're trying to ensure that you understand the material. The relationships with your colleagues you're going to meet, not just in your learning team, but the cohort at large, the networking opportunities, alumni network. I just think that there's like I can't think of a reason why you would not. Like just go to the sessions. I attended a few. Actually, that's how I met you, Brett. Was at one of the information sessions on Darden, and then had another opportunity to meet with you in person at one of the dinner sessions prior to school starting. So I think I'm just happy I moved forward in applying. Happy I got in. Happy I'm still here. Closing out quarter three, and it's absolutely crazy to think that this time next year we'll be getting ready to graduate. And I think for everybody listening, just Darden is the best place it's going to be. You're going to grow so much professionally and so much personally that you'll look back on it and kind of wish that you went to school sooner.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time today. It was great chatting with you, and congratulations again on your elected position. Look forward to seeing what you and Jesse and other members of the Executive MBA Student Association get into.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Brett. Thank you.
And that was my conversation with Mike Dorsey, a first-year student in our Executive MBA class of 2027. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like for us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at exec, that's EXEC, MBA @darden.virginia.edu. Till next time, stay safe, be well, and thanks for listening.